It tells me it started recording at the top. And that means we come down to iTunes, the space bar. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Is it really faint, or is it coming through all right?
It's kind of faint. Well, yeah.
I don't know whether it's the microphone here picked it up close to the headphones or...
Yeah, it must. I mean, like your voice is clear and stuff, but
I love this piece of music. It's so 80s.
it's awesome. That's yours?
Yeah, I did it all on my dad's old Yamaha DX7.
Sick.
Just one of these sort of like random afternoons of fuckery, you know.
Yeah. Did you spill some?
No, I just knocked it empty over. Well, the light.
That's great. I like that. That's such a like intro to a show song too.
Yeah.
I dig that. It's like, welcome. Is that your intro?
Sorry?
Is that your intro? I know you had a little intro tune.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's the actual intro to the podcast. Yeah.
Fucking awesome. No wonder that's in my head. I'm like, this is a great intro song.
Hurrah! Light. It's still a bit harsh. Hang on. Hello.
Hello.
I don't quite know what number podcast this is, but welcome to the very first videoed Steve Allen podcast featuring my lovely Canadian friend, Ray.
Hello. I'm so honored.
How's it going? What time is it there over in Canada?
2 minutes to 9 o'clock at night.
That makes it 2 minutes to 2 o'clock in the morning here.
A great time. A great time.
This is such a random thing. I think I've overdone it with a light as well now, which is... I can't see a thing. Yeah, this was such a random sort of occurrence, wasn't it?
The best kind. Yeah.
Just like, hey, what you doing? Nothing, but should we do a Skype thing? Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And as it happens, I haven't actually uploaded a podcast for a couple of weeks. So even if this doesn't like make it into one of those marathon sort of podcasts, I can just put this up there.
Yeah.
As a thing, because yeah, I haven't put anything up for a couple of weeks. I kind of like I blocked all of my guests in to like a 3-week period. In fact, it was probably shorter than that. It was probably like 2 weeks. I got really into it, got loads of people in, had like 6 or 7 people down in a couple of weeks. So that meant that if I'm doing one a week, I've got 2 months of material already pre-booked.
Hell yeah.
And then I couldn't get anybody else down to do one. So I think I've had 2 more people come down since to do podcasts that weren't really organized in the first place. And then I haven't had the chance. The last 4 or 5 weeks I've been I'm going for my taxi badge because it's something to do through the week. It gives us as much time to go and work as I need. It gives us as much free time as I need, and it's just kind of going to generally be financially helpful, I think.
And I picture you like making songs and then testing them out in the vehicle.
Yeah.
Showing people, be like, check out this new tune.
That's the one. Like, hey, it's free publicity.
Hell yeah.
Word of mouth is the strongest, and when you put yourself in a public facing role, it gives you that chance to really like spread the word. I remember when I used to work in the bar, like if I had something coming up, everybody in town knew about it because you work with a massive cross section of society if you're behind the bar in the nearest local pub, you know.
Oh my God, yeah, totally. Totally.
So what's going
Always
on?
trust the bartender.
Yeah, man, totally. What's going
Yeah.
on with you then?
Well, I mean, well, firstly, like I think it's cool because me and you met in Israel randomly as hell,
Yeah,
because you were playing.
yeah,
And yeah, so anyways, we kept in contact, so that's really cool. In my life, I've like I was living somewhere for like 5 years and I just moved out and I got like a manager now, which is kind of nice as a musician to, have someone kind of like helping you, looking out and working, the extra brain that's like more about business
yeah.
to, help you create that shit that's kind of hard to do.
Art and business shouldn't really mix in it. It's one thing to just be a little bit artistic if you do anything in life, especially business stuff, and
Hmm.
then it's probably easier to market yourself if you're a better businessman than you are an artist. But sometimes bleaching through into the business side of things when you're an artist, it's soul destroying at times, isn't it? Like
Oh
because
yeah.
you, especially when it's if you're putting your own material out there. I mean, I haven't really done much of that. A lot of the work that I've done, as you know, from Israel, is the covers side of the music industry.
Yeah.
So there's never really any sort of pressure, or it's a different kind of pride that you're playing with when you do that sort of thing. But if it's a song that I've written and I go on stage, it's like, here's me baby, look after it
Yeah.
to the audience, you know.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
totally,
I've
totally.
just given birth to it. It's still really precious, and I don't want to drop it, but I've kind of got to pass it around the room. So,
Yeah.
so would you all be
Totally
really
know what I'm
careful?
saying. Yeah. No, it's true. And I feel like with business, having creativity like is friggin' awesome.
Oh
But
yeah,
then
definitely.
conversely, like if you're an artist, having business is really awesome too, but it's kind of like two separate things as
Yeah,
an artist. Like
yeah,
music shouldn't be actually you hear bands where you can tell that the music is business and it's less music. And then but some really sick, managers or business people, they think outside the box and they use creativity and actually make really cool shit happen. That's maybe like something you haven't seen before too, which is awesome.
I mean, Who's that guy that's all over YouTube that only plays guitar with one string?
What?
Yeah, and it's like he's all over the place, and I'm just thinking, well, if that can draw appeal of millions and millions of people, surely one of my bog standard like singer songwriter songs is going to be worth something out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's inspiring.
Never mind the stuff that I spend hours and weeks programming to try and sound great. Like the stuff that just falls out, that should be all right. It's a tricky industry, isn't it?
And isn't it funny? We're like probably like there was like so little thought put into what that guy's doing. Like I haven't even seen him, but sometimes things like just happen in this weird natural way. And then I kind of sometimes wonder if these, because like we're on one side of things, but I've always felt like if I wasn't on this side, I would love to be on the business side because I like seeing talent in people and I like seeing. Sometimes I see something that I want to just be like, this is freaking awesome. I will want to help it be seen or something. Like I always wonder with those, like let's say YouTube people or something, like does their parents say, hey, let's hire a PR person or a manager, or does somebody find them and contact them and say, hey, we're gonna, I have ideas for you, I've got a couple contacts. I wonder how that kind of goes down. Like how does that guy, are you saying he's like touring on this one string?
I don't know if he's touring, but I think he's definitely done like camera well lit shows. You know,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah,
Because
production, like
don't get me wrong. When you hear him play, like it's his thing, and it's always
right.
wonderful to hear somebody doing their thing. Like I work with an old guy called Stu Rickard, whose brother is my next door neighbor. Now, his brother's seldom in the country. Stu's like 73. Howard next door's in his 60s, I think. Like they're both like a generation above me, you know, or two maybe, or three even. God, Stu was around in the 50s before roads were popular.
Oh,
Um,
Jesus.
yeah.
Cool.
Um, Stu's not a very confident musician. He just kind of goes with the flow. He plays a bit of harmonica, a little bit of squeeze box, and he writes songs. Now, he turned up at my house on Sunday night with like a box full of songs. He just went, "There's a pile of paper, son. Have a look through that." And
Oh, like just
uh,
written. Like,
some of them are typed up, some of them are handwritten, but these are going back to the 80s, man. Like a box full of work.
shit.
And so I made a pile of like, oh, that one stands out. I've heard that one before. That one stands out. No, I don't. No, that one stands out. And I pulled out the songs of his that I'd heard, and there was something like 24 of them. And he's like, he was like, oh, you only know like 3 or 4 of my songs. I'm like, no, I've definitely heard more than that. But I didn't realize how many he's gone through. I mean, we've only really been playing together for the past 2 years or so.
So when you say heard, you mean like you've heard it like where?
Just coming from him, he's
Oh, okay.
because he doesn't play guitar or keys or anything like that. He's more of just a melody liner. You know what I mean? He can hear a melody, he can work it out and get there. So harmonica, accordion, and anything that's quite tactile, he's good with. But like having to think about chords and rhythms just melts his brain. Bless him. He gets onto the flow and he goes and he's great.
It's
But
beautiful.
but that's exactly it. It's his thing. When he's in that of zone of his thing, he's almost untouchable. His feel, well, that all musicians are unique, but his unique feel and his unique sort of personality in his music, it's just beautiful, man. He's 73 and he bounces around this living room like a kid when we get going. It's amazing.
That's so,
It's
oh,
amazing.
that's so wonderful. That's so pure. Sounds like that's so cool. Do you hear that? Oh, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Chord? Hello?
Hello?
Okay, I can hear you.
Yay, sorry about that, folks. A little technical issue. So there's always three of us playing. It's me and Stu, and then another guy that I've done one of the podcasts with, Stevie Two Dogs, who's great. He brings his cajon, his box drum. He's got like this lush 1970s Yamaha acoustic. And we just sit and have a couple of beers and a bit of jam and like, it's 1:30 in the morning, lads. Yeah, we'll call it a night now. Right, night, lads. See you later. Cuddles and off they go, and same again next week. And it's just amazing. It's like
Oh,
no,
sick.
there's no pressure. There's no like animosity. There's no ego. There's no anything. It's just like we'll put the world to rights. We play some music.
That's
We'll
so
put
good to do. That's
the
so
right.
good to do. For me, it was like, it's funny because for so long I've been like such a writer, such a solo writer. I mean, I was in a band with another person, but I was still the lead writer and like
Yeah,
kind of like the shot caller. But we had that yin yang
yeah,
union kind of, right? Like he
yeah,
was more technical and I was more abstract.
yeah.
And so it was nice. And then since then, it's just been me. And sometimes people are like, hey, let's jam. And sometimes I'm kind of like, ooh, where do I fit in here? Because I'm not a, you know, technical or theorized creator. I'm more kind of just like, you know, soulful and shit. And I like to lead because of my lack sometimes of knowledge with
Yeah.
with that shit. But
Well, I
but
mean,
then but also I can like hop in on rhythm, or I can hop
yeah,
in on some other instrument or vocals, right? Those are
yeah,
always
yeah.
those are always good to
Every,
go. But
everybody's got one.
yeah, everyone's got one totally. I always try
Yeah.
to encourage people because it's like people are like, man, my voice sucks, and I'm like, dude, no, like, okay, I could list like 10 people right now who make a shitload of money off their voice and they don't like, what is a good look, I keep doing this, I'm noticing this is so
Yeah.
weird. Anyways, what is a good, like, what makes a voice good? It's all a matter of perception. Anyways, it's more like what you bring to your voice, what's like behind it that makes it interesting, you know?
Yeah.
There's so many like technically crappy voices that I
Like
love listening to.
Kurt Cobain, man,
Yeah.
there is nothing perfect about that boy's voice,
Yeah.
but he could double track his own voice perfectly to the point where you couldn't tell that it was two voices.
Totally. I
So he not only was he that abstract and that sort of abnormal, but he was perfect at it. Like
yeah.
he was calculated with all of it. Like
Yeah.
you listen to that last like the dying 16 bars. It smells like Teen Spirit. That's all double tracked.
Yeah.
I didn't
That's
I didn't know that until years later when I watched a production video on it. You know what I mean? You listen, you go, oh shit, it
oh,
is.
okay, well that's kind of crazy because it's funny because when I double track my vocals, it's for the purpose of thickening them. And sometimes I've like certain, like more recently I was just recording with my friend and we double tracked it and we looked at the waveform and I was like, "Oh, we must have like, copied it or
Copied and
something."
pasted it over. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we thought. And then it sounded like it had that chorus sound and then we looked and we looked and we are like, no, that was a different take. And I was like, well, we have to re-record it so they don't sound the same because
Yeah.
the point is to thicken it, not make it
The,
sound like a chorus, right?
the trick to do there would be to sample delay to literally nudge it by
Yeah,
like a tenth of a second, like a just a fucking flea's
yeah,
leg.
for sure. Yeah,
Yeah. And you can do that just with a normal vocal, or pitch it down by like a couple of cents and move it, and you just get.
ooh,
Or what DAW are you using?
well, I mean, with my friend there, he was using FL Studio. I use Logic and Reaper. What do you
Right,
use?
Logic.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's a fantastic Waves plugin called Meta Filter. Basically, I mean, you can use any basic filtering plugin, like a flange or a phaser or just something that's going to cause a bit of movement, even an auto pan, and you can use the same take, drop the pitch of it a little bit, and put some movement on it, and that just gives that illusion that it's kind of the same and it's doing the job of thickening up, but
Yeah.
it's not taken too far away whereby it's very similar in some parts and very different in others. It's just got that constant flow of movement to it,
Yeah. It's
I
like so
lo-
subtle.
yeah, I like blending in an octave as well, just
Mm,
either a top or a bottom, just tucked in there, just to add a bit of
yeah. No one even knows it's
like
there. It's just
yeah,
like,
just a bit of vertical. You know what I mean? Rather than trying to fill out the stereo field.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Like you just saying that in that way kind of like teaches me that's cool. Because I'm like the way I do stuff and use my DAW, like I use Logic for writing and then
yeah.
I always go and re-record it or I send some stems and then I'll definitely re-record vocals. Like I don't have a nice mic right now. Like I'm trying to work myself. I'm so not technical that I'm
What
really
what
learning as I go. So
what do you consider a nice microphone?
that's the thing is I don't know. I think every microphone's nice. They're pretty, they're shiny. You know what I mean? This is what I go off of, like, because I'm just like, not so much in that world of technicalness, but
Do you recognize one of these?
it looks like let me guess, a microphone. I
Very clever.
think.
Correct.
Yes.
The watermelon to the lady on the other side of the pond. No, this is your bog standard, industry standard vocal microphone, a Shure SM58.
Okay, I've totally seen those before. Yeah,
Yeah, you've probably used them before if you've ever been on a stage.
for sure.
For sure.
Well,
Clever.
I use it like a head. I use a
Yeah.
wireless head mic, so I rarely use it, but I have. Yes.
So they're a good weight. They're solid. They've got a decent frequency range. They're not very expensive. They're well made. They are just good microphones. Now, I mean, bear in mind, I could pick one of these up for like 80 quid.
I wonder what that equivalency
We'll, we'll,
is
we'll,
to.
we'll go £100, and that's
Probably like 200 Canadian. My God.
No,
At least-
we worked out last night because Cameron and I were talking about the Tesla, um, the Cybertruck.
yeah. Oh yeah.
He wants one, and I'm like, well, let's work out the import tax, etc. But
Right.
because he's not a national, if he bought the car, he could just let it sit over in Canada for 6 months, and then he doesn't have to pay import tax. But it's US dollars is about 75% of the pound at the minute. So,
Wow. Right.
or the pound 75% of the pound 75% of the dollar. So, like, if I got this for £100, you're talking maybe $130, something along
Probably,
those lines.
probably more like 180, probably like 180, 200, which makes sense. Like if I went to buy that at like the place here that we have,
Yeah.
it'd for sure be just under $200. So yeah.
But yeah, so that's a
Oh,
relatively affordable microphone for the quality that you're going to get. You can go, how high is up? You can go and spend 50 grand on a vintage microphone that was used in fucking Abbey Road studios in London 40 years ago by John Lennon or something. Like you can really spend, how much money do you want to spend on a microphone?
true. And it's like
Uh,
you could like totally suck and spend like be like, this microphone would make me sound good. It's like, no, it's not necessarily gonna make you sound good, Like it's and people sound different on different mics too,
yeah,
right?
totally.
I've tried out different mics and yeah.
So there's a girl called Sylvia Massey, who's a producer over in the States. She does a lot of work with Tool and System of a Down and all of those kind of guys. And her and I forget who it was. Oh, I can see his face, but I can't picture his bloody name. But anyway, another famous producer, Andy. It'll come back to us. It'll come to us. Or do I just have a quick look on Firefox? I don't want to say Andy Murray because that's our tennis player, but it sounds right.
Yeah, I never thought about like who's producing Tool. I fucking love Tool. I just never think about like, who's producing that music. I kind of always assume that they just kind of do it all, like they just kind of control everything in house, but
No, certainly on the older albums, they would take a lot of. No, it's not Andy Sneap. Andy Wallace. That's the guy. So Sylvia Massey and Andy Wallace are in a studio one day, and they're discussing the qualities of microphones, and they decide to do a shootout, which means that they put 30 different microphones of varying expense, quality, type, all in a room together, wired them all up, and they tested them A, B, B, C, A, C, and they went through all of them and tested them to see which one they preferred for vocals.
for themselves, or maybe for like production in general.
Just
right?
for the sort of the most dynamic, the best all round microphone.
For whatever reason. Okay, yeah, got you. They chose that one.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out. Oh man, that's insane. That's well, that's fucking insane. Because I was gonna say like the ones that I like, record with knowing very little about microphones, but I find that most studios I've gone to and with people who know what they're doing, let's say, they're always very like, those ones that are suspended and they're kind of fancy. There's Shure, there's friggin' Sennheiser, and they're like omnidirectional, blah blah. Maybe that one's the same. I have no idea, but
so you've got two basic types of microphone. Because basically you've got two types of sound. You've got something that's got a low SPL, sound pressure level, and a high SPL. So you would imagine something like a violin has got a very low SPL, particularly in the lower registers. It gets a bit higher the higher up you get, but particularly in the lower registers on a violin, it's a very low sound pressure level. When you hit a kick drum, boom, the sound pressure, the level of the pressure that's coming out of the front,
okay,
it's moving a lot of air.
right.
So I wouldn't use the same microphone on a violin that I'd use on a kick drum, because I'd blow the violin microphone with a kick drum, and the kick drum microphone wouldn't pick up a dot of what's going on in the violin. So you have dynamic microphones, which are the ones that are built for high pressure levels. So this is good for a direct vocal straight into it when you're on a
Right.
stage. I've been recently using this on my snare for my drums. You can use equivocal. All the drum kit microphones are basically this, maybe with a slightly larger diaphragm. However, when you come to doing a violin, you'd want to use something more akin to this little fella.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
A little tiny condenser microphone. So this requires a slightly higher voltage because it's got a more sensitive capsule in it. And this is the type of thing that you would use for a violin or for hi-hats on the drum kit, because
I see those on drum sets a lot, like those little guys.
just little over the top of something, quite nice for just picking that up. It's quite nice it's good for demo vocals as well, because it's very directional. It's only picking up here. It's not really, it's sort of, it's polar pattern. I don't know whether you can see that on the side of there. So that is actually the shape of the field of magnetism that comes in.
Yeah, they got those little, like, sometimes those, and then sometimes like this
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
Because the direction, yeah, that's cool. Thank
So,
God
so,
there's visuals on there.
so that's a cardioid,
Right.
and basically it's like an upside down heart around the
Right.
microphone, and it sort of it doesn't allow much sound coming from here onwards down behind it. So if I'm recording a vocal in the studio with a live band in, I might want to replace it later, but it might sound good enough. If I use this, I'm not getting much spill from the rest of the room. It's very, very directional to the singer's voice. So it's really handy for that.
Right, like every certain thing has a certain thing it calls for, right? Like depending on what you're up to.
But those big suspended microphones, they are a large diaphragm version of this. Like you've got normally like an inch and a quarter diaphragm.
Okay.
And again, they need 48 volts to power them. They're very, very sensitive. This thing can be chucked around stage and dropped and all of that. You know,
Durable.
Roger Daltrey from The Who, that microphone that he'd swing round and throw and drop, and that was a 58. If you take like a 30 grand U46 or something, drop that once.
Goodbye, thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
It was nice while it lasted. Yeah, so the variety in the field of microphones now is crazy.
It is crazy. Yeah.
It's just a case of what can you afford, what's available.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and the source that you're recording, like the source is so important. If you're recording something that sounds terrible, it's going to come out sounding terrible on the other side. There's nothing really that you can do to make it sound terrible.
Terrible.
You know, like I can't, for all I can drag somebody's voice kicking and screaming into tune, if it's miles away, that's then going to start sounding like a computer's fucked with the sound, and it's not going to sound like, which is why you get the T-Pain thing and all of that.
Totally. Well, I don't know that much about, at least I prefer to sit on the side of things where I just like to say I don't know that much, because a lot of people know a lot of stuff. But I mean, I've gathered a lot through I didn't go to school for music, or I don't really study it or anything, but I've just worked with a lot of different people who either did go to school or have been doing it for years. And so just through conversation, you pick up on a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But to my understanding, at least, and I'm sure you agree, that like number one is like you don't want to do a lot of post, and I know this from like video, right? Like you don't want to do a lot of post production. So the number one thing that you want to get right is your performance. And if the performance, you could have a perfect performance and like you almost don't even want to touch it, it's so good, because you're only going to take away from it. And that's like a nailing it, you just did it all, and then there's other times where maybe you did as best of a performance you can do, and all you need to do is do a little tweak here, and then maybe some of a bit of this, and then it's the best you can get.
Yeah.
Because of the reality of, what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
So like I've done a little bit of both. Like the one song on my new album that I did, like the guy I was working with, it was so funny because we did like 2 or like 3 takes of these vocals, and they're like the biggest vocals I've ever done. And it's like my most epic challenging vocal song. And I almost thought about maybe trying to sell it to someone with a better voice than me. But my first take was the take, but I wasn't, I
But
couldn't,
I was going to ask that just before. Do you
I
find that
could,
as well?
it's not always the case, but you know, because some people are like that, always catch that, like always record that first take, right?
Yeah.
But we kept listening to it back, and I could hear, you know, I'm so close to it, I could hear the flaws, and and we did have to do a little bit of comping, right? Like it wasn't
Yeah.
perfect. It wasn't perfect from beginning to end, right? But
Just
it,
explain comping a vocal.
oh right, yeah, like comping a vocal is like if I did three vocals, and you know, the second verse, I had some weak points, but on this, when I recorded it the second time, I nailed the second verse. You can just kind of pop that second verse in there, or even moments, you know, like
Like an
it's
individual phrase or an individual word.
exactly, yeah.
Or,
And so,
I've been known to there's been some songs where it's even like a letter at the end of a word. I was lost, but when
yeah,
they sang it, I was lost, and
yeah,
there's no
yeah,
T on the end of it, and then you get to the end of the next one, and there's a really hard T at the end of that, and it's like, I love that. Just
you just
lost.
plug it in.
Yeah, just drop it in
Oh,
exactly the right place.
oh, oh my God, that's
It's
funny. That reminds me, I have this one song, and I didn't like. That's a good example. Like I nailed the vocals, and it was so good. And then after the fact, which you know, I realized like always make sure you know what you're listening to when you listen to it back and get exactly what you want, because I wasn't thinking about it at the time. But I say the song's called "Love You to Death," but I didn't go "Love You to Death." So a lot of people think it's "Love You Today," and to me, like there's a huge difference between those
yeah.
words. Like love you today is so lame. Like
You've just reminded me of something. An artist that I'm working with who shall remain nameless. Um, there was a lyric in a song that well, the lyric of this song is "I need to think of myself," but with the slumbering of the words, it sort of sounded like "I need to think of myself."
I need to finger myself.
So
Sorry.
yeah, exactly. I cut that. I stopped the recording and went, "Oh my god, that better not be the lyric." There, got on the phone. I'm like, "You need to check this. Is this what you really intended by this lyric?" Oh no, it's I need to think of myself. I'm like, really? Like it's so wrong. Change it, fix it.
Oh my
We were
God.
actually we were rehearsing it earlier, and I was like, "We're gonna do that one." We get to that point of the song, and it's just like I can't even continue. It's just.
Oh my God. Oh, you know what that reminds me of too is like I have certain lines in my songs that I hear something dirty in my head, but I'm singing what I'm supposed to be singing. But in my head, I hear like this thing that I won't tell anyone, because as soon as I tell them, they
It's
won't be able to unhear it, right?
Yeah, I've got one of them. My favorite ever one of them is Tina Turner's "Butt Bush Shitty Limits."
What is it supposed to be? I don't know that.
Nut Bush City Limits.
Oh, and then what do you hear?
Butt Bush Shitty Limits.
Guaranteed you're not the only one too, right? Like,
Yeah, I hope not.
it's hilarious.
Especially considering I've told loads of people. One of my ex-girlfriends, really close friends, was a massive Tina Turner fan, and the whole time we were together, she was like, you dare ruin that song for her." And I'm like, "I just let us."
You have like the power to like ruin it too. It's fucking That's so hilarious. You can't unhear that shit. Oh man, that's funny. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, have you been gigging much recently? Have you been doing the do?
Yeah, yeah. My whole like this whole year has been like I played a bunch of shows. So much so that it like ended up being like, fuck, I gotta stop and focus on my album, get it done. And I just, you know, recorded the other day and realized that I have a lot less left to do than I thought. I just got like, geez, one song really to kind of finish up, which, you know, everything's done except for just kind of arranging and, you know, mix. Then there's a little bit of mixing and then mastering, and then it's all good to go. But in the meantime, I'm gigging because gigs just happen. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
where I live in Ontario, like there's a lot of, there's a lot of bands and all. It's like the same anywhere, right? But it's dense in Ontario, so there's a lot of towns and cities, and I've lived in a few of them. So if a band's coming through that I played with before, they might hit me up.
Just jump on, yeah.
They might hit me up, and then I'll open and pardon me, all that shit. So I got a show this weekend, and both Saturday and Sunday, and then just disperse. It's nice. It's a good way to make some cash, right? Sell some merch and shit. So
yeah. Well, you make all your own merch.
Yeah. Yeah. So
it's always great to see some of the crazy shit you come up with. Like, I love it.
Oh, thanks, man.
You're that abstract creative of just fuck it. I'll make a bunch of dancing eyeballs. Like, it's just whatever it is. So what's your artist name so that people can search you online? Not that we're anywhere near a close, but I probably should have done this at the beginning more than anything. But
true. The Universe featuring Ray. So like the universe, this thing, like kind of right here, featuring me, who is Ray. My name is Ray.
Well, he is. You do the Instagram. Have you got YouTube as well, or are you just mainly Instagramming?
Oh yeah, I got videos on YouTube, and gonna have more coming out soon. Like I got YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that shit, But I personally run my own Instagram, but I have other people doing my Twitter and Facebook.
Ooh, get you.
It's nice. It's nice. It's nice. Like it's too much for one person to do all that shit. Like it's just.
Is that friends, or is that people you paying to do it, or is that just like, is it quid pro quo? What's the crack with that?
Okay, quid pro quo. That means free?
Yeah.
Well, it means like I'm building a team, and they believe in me, and I do a lot. I've been kind of managing myself for so long now that I have a new management team, and we're kind of like it's fresh. We're like 3 months in, right? So I'm trying to like figure out what to back off of and what to have someone else do, and what I should continue to do, because I have a lot of, connections through bands and people I've met over time. But anyway, so yeah, social media, it's really nice to have other people focusing on promoting, because there's just so much for us to do if you're trying to be an artist. Like there's just so much. No one person can do it all, and if so, they're on Adderall, guaranteed, or something crazy. Like, know what I mean? Like
full of amphetamines, just going for it constantly.
Exactly. And then their art's gonna slide if they're all on drugs too. So like you just can't, right? So
I've got my 3 drugs, man: caffeine, nicotine, and cannabis.
That's got to be the best trifecta of
and I don't even really drink much. The only time I ever drink is when I'm gigging.
Right. Oh, that's good, man.
And even then, it's only like 2 or 3 beers. It's not like we're going crazy. It's you have 1 beer for the first, because we always do 2 sets. We'll do like 2 45-minute sets at a show. So you'll get the gear in, you'll set up, then you'll go and get a beer, and that might last you all the way through the first set. You have another beer at half time, and then you have one for the second half.
At half time, that's great.
And then you go home, and that's it. You're 3 beers, and that's it doesn't touch the sides because you're not gunning it down. It's just like a slow drink that's meant to wet your whistle and last you through the set.
I like how you say that. It doesn't touch the sides. I like that.
Well, I mean,
it's cool.
Don't get me wrong. I've had gigs where I've hit the Jack Daniels before we've even got the gear in. Like there's those gigs have happened, but
yeah, we all have those gigs for sure.
We're a bit more professional than that these days. Like you've got to turn up and make a really good impression of yourself every time you go somewhere.
Yeah, people can tell. It's pretty obvious what people are up to, eh? Especially musicians. Like you see a lot of really talented people. I've been one of them who, probably people were just like, you're really good, but get your fucking shit together. Like, because you don't seem employable. Like you don't seem like you can be relied on, or like so. That's important. So are you still playing with those same dudes? Like, are you guys doing,
Yeah, yeah,
is that the same
yeah. We
group?
are.
That's,
We're actually. It's not the full same band.
I figured so. I
Yeah,
remember your drummer. I love that guy.
Roy. Yeah, Roy.
Yeah,
Uh,
Roy.
Roy works with a completely separate act when he's back over here, which is actually Dee's brother-in-law, which is a band that I used to work with years ago. It's really incestuous. It's crazy. Considering Roy used to work with my dad back in the like 80s and 90s, and Roy's dad used to work with my dad back in the 60s.
Man,
Anyway,
that's so
so
cool.
yeah, it's nuts. So Roy's back doing his thing. He's actually got he runs a business that hires out big LED screens. You know, like the ones that are all over Elat.
Oh yeah.
They're shit quality compared to the ones that he puts out, man. His
Oh
stuff
no.
is like 4D big LED screens that put them all over the place. So he's got a good little thing going on there. So his Christmas is tied up. Sharky, the other guitarist, is back in Ireland doing his thing. I'm sure he's been on tour like Bahrain.
He's that artist, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we did his album, um, and there might be some more underway. I don't know how little I should say about that, but I'm not going to say anything else.
Sounds like there's a lot on the way.
No,
Oh, sorry.
he's making inferences that he wants to start the next project, and
Cool.
he's. I love the fact that he put trust in me for the first one. You know, like I'd really not done any big professional gigs before I did that album, production wise, recording wise, and so many of my random dodgy demos of vocals and bullshit like got just stuck on the album, and then two or three things got missed out in the mix. So it was like a good equal share of I'm really honored to be on it, and what the fuck happened to all of that work that I did? Like,
Oh, it's the worst.
but I think
Yeah.
I was going to be looked into for the remix or something. That's fine.
Right on, right on.
But yeah, I mean, at the minute, I'm concentrating on working with a guy called Tex, my big Rasta mate Tex, and kind of we're really fucking with some boundaries musically. He's a Rasta. He's a Rasta. There's no two ways about it. He loves his reggae. You can't miss a big Rasta cycling down the street with his dreadlocks and a guitar on his back
Oh hell no.
on a racing bike. You know, like
I'd like get my bike and just like get up to him and be like, "What's up?"
yeah, he's that kind of cool.
So you guys do like fusion or?
Well, yeah, because I mean, historically, I've always been into a combination of jazz, rock, and hip hop. So mostly we're kind of solidifying his reggae stuff with hip hop beats.
I love that shit.
But then it's kind of got jazzy chords and metal motifs. It's rock stuff. It's all a little bit crazy, but we're like 9 songs into an album with him. He's got another producer working on another album with him, which also incorporates like a full live reggae band, which he's just asked me to go and play guitar in that band for him, which is cool. And then in the meantime, like I say, we work on stuff here whenever I've got spare time. And I think when the few people that have heard the bits that we'll be working on, like he says that, like, man, everybody that I stop in the street, I just take my headphones off and hand them it and play them the latest thing that we'll be working on, and they're dancing in the street with my headphones on. I'm like, yeah, that's. I know for a fact that if my beats get him dancing, he's going to be able to use that energy to get everybody else going, and
Yeah.
that can only be a successful thing.
Oh, for sure. And I love a spirit for just, tossing headphones on people, random people. You know what I mean? Like that's a really good way to be. If you love what you do, man, you make other people love it.
Like you're saying, in the taxi, that's probably going to be exactly where I'm at. But
yeah,
at home, if anybody walks through the door, it's like, oh, listen.
Yeah.
Play.
Yeah.
What do you think? No, well, it's not even a what do you think. It's just a play. Let somebody else hear it, and then gauge a reaction. rather.
Yeah, and it's just theirs, but still, no, yeah. That's funny. That reminds me, I just watched Josh Homme on Joe Rogan because
Yeah,
I'm a diehard Queens of the Stone Age fan, and I've always loved Josh Homme. Like I didn't even like watch many interviews on the guy, but there's just an air of like amazingness about this guy, plus the music and the lyrics, right? But
yeah,
anyways, he said this one thing that I really loved, where he was like, he, it was like, Joe was like, oh, you kind of like, what's your genre even, and then he kind of was talking about how, people called it stoner rock, and he was like, it's just, like when you make music, isn't the point of making music to make something that doesn't exist, but it's something that you love, that you get to
yeah,
listen to. And he was like, we toured with bands, and we'd be like, oh, like they'd be like, oh, we don't listen to our music, it's shit. And it was like, he was like, why the fuck wouldn't you listen? Aren't you making the thing that you want to hear more than anything else right now? Like, listen, like they just sit and listen to their own tunes. And
yeah,
I totally relate, because I like what I make. I don't make shit I don't
yeah.
like. I make
I
what I fucking like,
yeah.
and I'm proud of it. Like, it's like, that's how you know it's good, is if you dig it. And I mean,
You
that's
don't
all
have
that
to
should
listen to it.
matter.
You don't have to listen to it all the time, but
No, Jesus, no, but
but
you
to
should
be able
enjoy
to be
it.
yeah to be able to put it on at a later date and go, yeah, still dig this, man. Oh, I remember doing that. That was brilliant. Is a wonderful thing. Like I've recently recapped over some stuff that I did for my degree, which was 2016, 17. So it's a few years ago. So it hasn't been at the forefront of my listening. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but there was a couple of things that I did in there, and I thought, actually, yeah, you know what it is? It might not be perfect, but it gets the point across how I want it to. So I'm just going to put it online. So that's
Yeah.
been they've been streamed like 50 times or something between them on iTunes now, which is it's a start. And then
Oh yeah.
when I put the next song up, they'll leech a few off that as well. But they're just instrumentals. They're just like sort of film scorey type pieces, because I really like doing that as well. Like I've just started the Song Trader account, which is the thing that's allowing us to
Mm.
distribute all my music. And my tagline on there was, "This sounds like it should be in a movie." In quote marks, this sounds like it should be in a movie. Every
Hey.
quote about my music ever. Just, because it is, everybody's like, oh, this sounds like it should be in a Tarantino film, or this sounds like it should be in a horror film, and I'm like,
Nice.
yeah, I just need to get it synced out to the right places, and
Yeah, syncing, right? And then you gotta go through and type out every feeling it makes you feel when you listen to it. And
yeah,
yeah, that's where it gets into that shit where you're kind of like, do I want to fucking do this? But it's so worth it, especially if people say that. That's awesome.
yeah,
Like, and like, God, there's so many movies out there, like you don't even know some
yeah.
what anybody ever wants to hear. And you hear about people who like that their song got discovered, like not discovered, but like, say someone put out a song that we all know and love, right? And then all of a sudden, boom, it's like perfect for this commercial about like a song about like ball and chain or some whatever. I'm pulling it out
But
of my ass right now. And
the
then all of a
the
sudden
perfect
a
one.
company comes out called Ball and Chain, and boom, you're their fucking theme song. Like, so it's good to have put your shit out there, right? Because
Yeah, do you get the French car Renault over there?
no.
No. So there was a Renault advert over in the UK that featured a song by the 60s jazz organist Jimmy Smith. Now,
Jimmy Smith.
fucking brilliant. Played the C3 Hammond, dead jazzy. Just a little three-piece band, him, a drummer.
My bad.
Now, I listened to Jimmy Smith a lot when I was a kid because Jimmy Smith was my dad's favorite artist. So when I got like 14 and they used his main song, now the song was called The Organ Grinders Swing. The old CB radios?
Oh yeah.
So my dad used to use them back in the day, and his handle was The Organ Grinder. That was how
No
much he
way.
loved this fucking song. So like I was sort of 13, 14, and this advert came out with a song on it, and I'm like, wow, nobody else in the world would know what that song is really. I mean, yeah,
Yes.
they're fair popular in its right circles, but it certainly wouldn't have that wide distribution if it hadn't been on an advert like that. And
Totally.
suddenly it had a little bit of relevance, you know.
Yeah, and it's funny because some people would hear it and think like it's just the commercial song. Like they don't even know that like some fucking guy back in the day who did whatever made it. Like it's
I'm watching that advert, picturing the faces of the guys in the band, whereas nobody else would be. They'd just be watching the advert, going, "Oh, cause."
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. And I wonder if that guy's even alive to make the money off of it, right? Like
I wouldn't have thought so.
probably not. Yeah.
He was he was
Um.
he was a bit old back in the day,
Yeah.
but whatever.
But yeah, I was gonna say like way like when I was 17, I was in a band and we weren't trying very hard, but we gained a lot of popularity. We put out an album, it was awesome, and I was at that time kind of one of those people that were like didn't really like think about it too much and didn't want to like get too involved in what I was doing. It wasn't like I just kind of like put the music out and was glad people enjoyed it and was just in the moment, right? I was young
Yeah,
as hell. And then, later I actually listened to the right and then I kind of shit went downhill, so I almost kind of like disassociated with it because in some weird way I kind of self-sabotaged it to not exist. Like so
yeah,
I kind of was just like fuck it, and I ended up like, getting involved in, drugs and too much partying and all that shit, blah blah blah. 5 years, let's say 5 years later, I just like found the album and decided to listen to it. And when I listened to it, it was just like, we change as people all the time. So it's no wonder like your mind, your perspective, your cells, all that shit change, right? But when I listened to it, I was so disassociated from who I was at that time and that album and everything that happened that I was just a fan. I wasn't the person who even made the music. I like read the lyrics back and we're just like, man, who is this chick? This is cool. I dig this. And I became like a fan of my past self. It was so weird. It was a really weird experience. And then I had this, it was almost like what I got to, it was like getting to feel like what people who dug the music felt like, to actually not associate
yeah,
yourself with your art. Like
yeah.
it was like a weird feeling. And I still have that. I don't remember how we made it. I wasn't even attached to it at the time. So then it was really trippy and almost sad in a way because I felt like, wow, I wish I would have been a little bit more, you know, into it and close to it at the time. But anyways, yeah, it's kind of cool. Now I'm kind of a different person. Now I dig my shit and I like listening to it and
Yeah.
shit like that.
I've just sent you a quick link in the conversation. You can check that out later as my SoundCloud stuff. SoundCloud.com/Steve-Allen-5 for anybody who's listening.
Yeah, I was gonna say I gotta get information off you about like your podcast and shit like that.
And there's a song on there again that I did for my degree,
Oh,
which I half-inched a conversation between Joe Rogan and Eddie Bravo from the Joe Rogan podcast.
you showed me this.
Yeah.
That's so good.
And I hadn't listened to it for so long. Again, this is what I was saying. I pulled all my old college stuff up. And it's only a couple of years old, but again, I've had that time to sort of like, I'm past that now. I haven't done that for a while. I've moved away, and the mix wasn't perfect, but the feel of everything else and the just all of it, I fell in love with it again. And really, I really want to just play Eddie Bravo it and go, dude, check that out. I've tweeted him a bunch of times and nothing's.
You should get their email and just fucking send it just for shit. But you know what's so funny? When me and you met, we were like, we were totally nerding out about UFC. Like,
yeah.
UFC, and I was just like, oh my god. Me and you were just like, fuck yeah. We just talked like for like an hour.
Then, did you see the Khabib Poirier fight?
Oh yeah.
Fucking hell. That's sportsmanship at its absolute finest. When two guys can smash the shit out of each other for 25 minutes and then stand and like big the other guy up and take it all away from himself. You know, they both put in an equally amount of fucking.
That's what I love about the sport itself. You know, like that's like, man, I used to be like when I like 15 years ago when my friends first started watching it, I couldn't even barely watch it. I don't like violence, like blah blah blah, but this is totally different. UFC is like beautiful. It's like art. It's an art, martial arts, right?
Yeah, for a lot of it, I think there's some questionable shit, particularly surrounding Conor McGregor. I think he is what he is, but
he's not martial arts though. He's him, right? So that's different.
but he purports to still be martial arts. But then he also purports to be a street battler. And then you put him in front of somebody who's actually like properly fought on the streets. Nate Diaz, Khabib, like
Mhm.
for all Conor won the second Diaz fight, he didn't.
No. See, I feel like Connor's more of like a life artist and like a manifesting artist and like a force than he is good at martial arts. You know what I mean? Like
he is still astonishing. But I think
Mhm.
that all it took was one person out there to show the flaws in his game, meaning that most of it's the chat and the talk,
Exactly.
and the head fuckery that gets him the wins.
Yeah.
Accurate, his punches are hard, and they may be accurate, but there's a lot of big lads that are out there that can take all that he's got to throw and then just crush him against the side of that cage, you know?
Oh
Uh,
yeah. Same with like, you know how, okay, I don't know when I met you whether he had fought was it Khabib?
he was on the way to fighting Khabib.
Okay, right. And like when I was yeah, I don't think it had happened yet, but all of the press had happened, I think. Because
Yeah,
I remember saying to you guys, like, I cannot believe like the brutal verbal abuse he was given to Khabib and the way Khabib was taking it was like it made me, and I was a huge Conor McGregor fan. I liked his ability to use his words as power, but
yeah,
he had like stooped to such a low level and he said so many like low blows that weren't powerful. They were weak. He was weak when he was saying these things, I felt like.
yeah.
And Khabib took them so you know what I think Khabib did? He took them and he bottled them and he bottled them. And then as soon as he won, he fucking jumped over the cage and he just he just unleashed all of that
Yeah,
probably anger he was holding in there, well deserved.
yeah.
And but man, when he beat him, I was so fucking happy. Oh,
Who was the guy that he jumped over the cage for again?
one of his fighting partner guys who fights, but
Something
oh
Dan. Uh,
oh Connor's manager,
no, it was his jiu-jitsu partner. Or
coach,
something. Dane Dennis. Something Dennis.
something like that. Because he
Darren.
was talking all kinds of shit to
Yeah,
him.
but yeah, and he was stood ushering him out the cage. So he was like, "Okay, hop,
Yeah.
jump, Dylan Dennis."
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, but then I watched. In fact, last night I watched a breakdown of that whole thing,
No way. Sick.
and he like Khabib was saying at the press conference, "Why are you bothered that I jumped over the cage to fight somebody when I've just had a fight in the ring after everything that he's said, after everything he's disrespected my country, my religion, my family, me. That, like,
Oh yeah.
there's so many things that he's picked on that he just shouldn't
Plus,
have done.
he fucking took a
Nearly
dolly. He took a dolly to the
to that
bus that they
bus, yeah,
were in.
man.
Fucking like for just I don't know if he's getting paid to do this shit, and I hope he was getting paid because it's the only decent and not even good excuse to behave as you know what I mean? Like,
Have you seen the footage of him since then, where he punched some old dude in a pub and
yes.
like all smashed some guy's phone? He's just
I feel bad for him, honestly. I'm just like, oh dude, ugh.
I didn't I appreciated the fact that he managed to manifest everything that he did and a lot of the
Yeah.
predictions that he said. Now, I kind of came in halfway through. I think I came in just after the Jose Aldo fight. It was when I really started paying attention. Like, oh,
Yeah.
13 seconds. That's not bad.
Yeah. Excuse
But
me.
again, he managed to talk himself into that win. You know, he managed to put Aldo into a place where he just wasn't right. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. It's a mental game. That's a big
and
part of
and,
why I love
and,
UFC.
and that worked. But when he realized that it wouldn't work on Nate Diaz, and then he was going to have to try his fucking hardest to get Khabib before the fight, otherwise he was just going to get fucking killed.
Yeah.
He went about it the wrong way. He could have really fucking calmly disassembled him, and he went the wrong way about it. And all he did was just he basically opened up a bottle of whiskey and poured it on the fire, and oh shit,
Dude,
the house is gone.
Dude, that's so funny you say that because I was just gonna say too. I watched the press conference and he's there talking all this trash and pouring shots of whiskey and just giving it out like he's like the fucking man trying to.
Yeah.
He was trying to promote his whiskey more than win a fight, I think. And he probably sold a shitload of fucking whiskey because of it.
That, but then to offer a Muslim gentleman a drink of whiskey,
Can't
that,
get the fuck.
that's like,
Yeah. Okay, so there's this fucking YouTube. I don't think this guy's putting videos out anymore, but if you ever like want to check something out, go back and check out his videos. He's called Alpaca Thesaurus. It's
oh,
one word. He does breakdowns, like I don't know if you've seen it, but anyways, he'll like cut up, face-offs, fights, all the lead ups, and he's gone through like I kind of got into him around the Connor time because he's like a I don't know if he's like a professional body language reader, but he talks about just deep fundamental human behavior and why, and kind of like breaks down the mental game that goes on, and
yeah.
he'll slow it down, slow motion it, repeat it. It teaches you so much about humans and then also about the fight game, and it's so fucking cool.
I watched a very similar thing about the Prince Andrew interview.
What's
So,
that? Prince Andrew.
uh-huh. Oh
Who's
my word.
Prince?
I'm going to break some news to you.
Oh, shit.
So you must have you been keeping up to date with the Jeffrey Epstein trials and his suicide?
No, but I keep seeing headlines and never reading it, so
Right.
please.
So Jeffrey Epstein, it was found hanged in his jail cell after his second time of being remanded for paedophilia, basically.
In jail?
Yeah, he was suicided on suicide watch.
So he was in jail once, got let out, and then did the same thing again, which is pedophilia both times?
I don't think he ever stopped, really. The jail that he was in the first time was like a free, a halfway house, so he was just in and out. He had his own.
Okay.
Yeah, it was horrendous. So then they arrested him a second time and were going to charge him properly and then start investigating to find out who he was, because he was a celebrity child procurer, basically. He would basically invite all of the celebrities, presidents, prime ministers, all of it, to either his New York mansion, his little island in the Caribbean, his London mansion, or anywhere else in the world that he had. And like all of his homes were rigged with secret cameras. He'd have a girl. He'd have a girl that was going around procuring teenagers to come and give massages, etc., to clients.
So he was like a highly regarded, like socially, like high status, rich,
Oh yeah.
associating with
Clintons, kings, princes. So his best mate was our Queen's youngest son, Prince Andrew, the Duke of York.
Okay.
So everybody that's found the photographs of Prince, there's a photo of Prince Andrew with the main claimant of the court case in the Epstein filings, when she was 17, and she claimed to have been working there for years beforehand. She claims to have slept with Prince Andrew on 3 occasions, all sorts of shit. So anyway, basically the public over here were calling for his head. So he did an interview with the BBC. I would suggest you watch that and just check his body language out. And then I went back and watched a guy breaking his body language down bit by bit.
I find that very interesting, yeah.
And there's so many little tells. Never mind all of the yes, right. yes, well, that happened.
Well, if
no.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Like he just all of his body language was just selling the exact opposite of what he was saying, you know.
Yeah. Body language, after watching the one guy I was telling you about, and the fact that we know that body language is what, 70% of communication, or like.
No, we know the verbal communication in so much as words is approximately 30%. Therefore, the other 70% is made up of body language, eye contact,
energy,
inflection, tone of voice, volume. You know, there's a whole bunch of other non-verbal communicative,
Absolutely.
subconscious body movements, head
Yeah.
ticks, like.
Well, and have you ever heard about a person who was like with somebody who they loved and that person cheated on them, and the moment they saw them for the first time, they could tell something happened? Like you could not even
Yeah,
say a damn word. Like you
I've
could
been,
like
yeah,
energy,
I've been there. I've
right.
been there on that side of the fence.
Energy alone, yeah.
Just yeah, when somebody's staring off into the middle distance, and you go, "Are you all right?" And they go, "Oh yeah, yeah, fine, yeah."
Yeah. So like the words actually are completely useless. The words mean nothing. Yeah, I'm fine. Now that's not even
Yeah.
it's just sounds. It's
That's
not
that's,
even
that's
truth.
a
Like
big thing of dealing with the kids, my teenagers. Like, what's the matter with you? Nothing.
which means everything.
Yeah.
Like, like yeah.
Or or
Yeah.
um or have you done all of your homework? Yeah.
It's like a question, yeah? Why does the voice go up at the
So
end?
so last night when I messaged you, and you didn't answer my messages, you didn't spend any time on your iPad at all last night. No.
No?
No. So what's that you're looking at in your mind's eye? What are you remembering? I can see you thinking about something.
Right,
Like
right.
what is you sat there right now telling me that you weren't on your iPad, but I can see you seeing yourself sat there with your iPad in your hands. Stop filling us full of shit, son. Like sit down and get your homework done, or there's gonna be hell on. And
Right.
yeah,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it's good to know a little bit about that at least. Like, and I know with the dude I watched, it's like if you look down to the left, you're, lying or you're searching, you're creating instead of when you're, like I can tell you you're saying that like if you're projecting up into your projected mind, that's
yeah,
you either remembering or fantasizing.
yeah.
But if you're looking down to the left, which don't get me wrong, like
I think it
I've
varies from person to person. I think
it
that.
does. It does. I was gonna say after watching it like with my roommate, like after we watched that, I was just like, Jesus, is he gonna think every time I look down to the left I'm fucking lying? Because like I look different places. Like, come on.
Yeah, yeah,
But if you're under the gun and someone's questioning you about something that maybe you feel pressured about, you're probably gonna like
what
default to like primal instincts and shit, right?
it's the subconscious reactions that
Yeah.
occur in the hearing of the truth. So if a claim is put to an individual and they hear the truth, generally, if it's the truth, they're going to react in a different way. Like, so if say Prince Andrew's been accused of having slept with this girl, is that a video of you getting a foot massage off a Russian teenager? No. Like,
No.
really? What? Why did you jump back and then suddenly like protect yourself subconsciously? Oh well, that's because you're telling a great big lie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah, the truth. Oh, yeah.
the other one is that the guy said like he responded to a question with a very short answer, and then his foot flicked, just in discomfort. Like I didn't say that properly, or the steeple. People in power will have their hands like that, and you could
Right.
see it. You could see him through points of the interview. His hands were doing this,
Yeah, yeah. Right.
just like that.
Comforting, like,
That's strength. That's holding something in. That's suppressing. That's bringing it close in. So if you're sat there and you've got something that you don't want to tell somebody, you're balled up. If you're trying to be in a position of power, you're directing all of your energy at that person. If suddenly they've cracked that shield, shit starts going inwards.
yeah, totally. It's so funny. We're just like this little jelly connection to like this, which is all the truth and all the lies and everything. And it's just
It's not even like a lot of the so like consider human requirements, dietary requirements. You might go, I'm hungry, but it's not I'm hungry. It's not your stomach saying I'm hungry. It's all of the bacteria that live inside your gut
right.
sending default programs through your nervous system to get you to react to feed the bacteria. It's not
True.
it's not you going, I'm hungry. It's them going, we're hungry. Fucking come on. Like,
Yeah. Give me some chocolate. Yeah,
yeah, definitely.
totally.
Oh, chocolate.
Totally. Oh
Yeah.
man, I got off the I got off the sugar recently.
How's that doing?
That's pretty good. I was a little worried I was just replacing it with alcohol, and then I kind of got off the alcohol and I still don't have sugar, so pretty good. So note to self, anyone who's listening, if you want to get off sugar, drink a bunch and then stop drinking.
I can't say I condone that one, but go with it.
Work for me. That's all I'm saying.
Keto diet or the slow carb diet, which is basically just like really upping your protein and just sticking to like greens, really thick cruciferous vegetables at best, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I can survive with that as a diet with just like sweet cups of tea and coffee. I'll have quite sweet tea and coffee, but then I don't gorge on sweets and crisps, and chips as you guys call them, and it's fucking like
What do you guys call them?
crisps.
Oh, that's so awesome. Crisps. But they're just fried potatoes, right?
Yeah, it's just potato fries, yeah.
Yeah.
Just,
and then you guys called fries chips.
Well, no, because the French fry is a very different kind of. I suppose the French fry is a kind of chip, but we have varying degrees of chips. So you got the French fries, the skinny ones that are deep fried and they're really crispy, and then you would have like thick steak chips, are typically really chunky and just shallow fried or baked in the oven.
Right. We call those like home fries or wedges.
Yeah,
Anyways.
well, wedges are like they're wedges of chips, which are wedges of potato, which are bigger again and baked.
Yeah.
And then then we've got all of the ones that just come in packages that are just chips that are sort of they're neither thick nor thin. They're not very tasty. And to be fair, I just make my own now. I just buy potatoes and just cut whatever size I fancy that day. You know, I think I'll have wedges today.
Oh, nice. And then do you like bake them always, or do you deep fry?
Just deep fry them.
Oh, nice.
I want to get one of those air fryers, man.
I was just gonna say, have you ever heard of that? Like, my family was just like, my aunt was just saying, like, dude, air frying shit is crazy. Better for you too, I believe, right? So.
Yeah, it uses a lot less fat, but then fat. If you look into the ketogenic diet, fat's really good for you because the more intake
Certain
of fat,
kinds, right?
pretty much all of it, really, because the more fat you intake, the more fat you're fluxing through your fat cells. So we all have a limited amount of fat cells, and the size of the individual as pertaining to being quote unquote fat or obese isn't that they've got more fat cells. It's just that each one of those fat cells is becoming more and more bulbous and full of fat. So when you start putting more fat in and trying to sort of limit the response of the liver so that it stops breaking food down, turning it and storing it as body fat. If you can get into ketosis and keep a high intake of fat up, you're actually fluxing more fat through the fat cells, and that's cleaning them out. It's drawing more fat out of the other side as you put fat in, rather than it building up and stagnating through like carbs and all of that other shit that we eat.
Totally.
Because I know that sort of standard American diet, it's bleaching over here, like like chicken nuggets and fucking basically all the shit you can get at McDonald's and pizza. You know, burgers,
all bready shit. Yeah. I'm mostly like, I'm not like intentionally keto, but I eat, and I mean like I don't eat land animals. Like I don't eat my own kind, mammals. I guess that's how I go by it. But I do eat seafood to have some sort of like meat. Yeah. But I was vegan for a while. But so like aside from like mostly just for me, it's just like fish and then greens. But I do have like carby vegetables sometimes. But I don't really eat bread very much.
Have you listened to the Joe Rogan podcast with Chris Kresser from like a year and a half, 2 years ago?
Quite possibly. What was his thing about?
It was Dr. Joel Kahn and Chris Kresser, and it was an argument, vegan versus keto. Mm-hmm. And Dr. Joel Kahn was going, look, I'm a heart surgeon. I've had to deal with a million clogged fucking venal arteries or whatever. Like, it's animal fat. And the other guy's going, well, no, because it's da. So they put a new one out, and he's basically debunking a vegan documentary and trying to come out with common sense, even though he opens his argument with, I really respect the guy that made this documentary. We've been speaking for weeks now. He's a really solid guy and a lot of his knowledge is great. I think he was just badly advised on the way his documentary was laid out, and some of the stuff's not quite right. So one of the things that he said this morning, that he said on this podcast, and I might be wrong, because I've only listened to it once. Generally, it takes a couple of listens for this shit to sink in. But if you've got 3 grams of animal protein, or 3 grams of ground beef, you would need like half a tub of peanut butter to equate the amount of protein in 3 grams of beef.
Right. And
even then, they're completely different kinds of protein, and you're going to break them down differently, and they're going to react differently in your body. The thing with particularly like bovine meat is that the grass and the greens that they eat, much like when we eat broccoli and other cruciferous stuff, there's certain stuff in there that we can't break down. We've only got one stomach. Cows have got, is it 6 stomachs?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, they've got multiple stomachs because it takes 2 or 3 goes to be able to break down these certain things that are in the grass for them to be able to survive, grow, etc.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't got the capacity to break these things down in our system. I wish I knew the specifics of this. I hate not being
I know what you mean.
But apparently there's just something in the way that the animal will then store that in its muscle tissue, and that's the only way that we can get access to that directly. That thing from the grass, we can't access it directly. The only way that we can is via the muscle tissue of bovine animals that eat the grass and the greenery.
Okay, so then what about like chickens? Different then.
Depends what they're fed. Like if chickens are fed on what they naturally survive on, which is like bugs and worms, then
protein.
It's protein.
Yeah. I mean, that reminds me of a thing too. It's like kind of a little bit on the same point, because again, I have no idea about those details of that, but I read this really sick book called Hatha Yoga, and it's just about the science behind how our body works, and not really in a scientific way, in a really just like logical, like fucking think about it way. Anyways, point being, the one thing that my earphones say. The one thing that I really loved from it was like that we forget about mastication and saliva. Like our number one most important part of digestion is saliva, because there's enzymes in it that way before it ever hits our stomach are like extremely integral to sorting out the nutrients and putting them where they need to go.
Yeah.
And so many people, like, I mean, like I got a lot of friends that are dudes, and I see them eat, and I don't even know whether they chew like 10 times half the time. Like I'll have like a meal that's chilling there for like, it takes me like maybe a half hour, but they're done in like 5 minutes or less. And I'm just kind of like, did you even fucking chew that, dude? And they're not like fat or anything. Like they can be lean and stuff, but there is something about like, and they look healthy, don't get me wrong. So I'm not saying it's like super,
I'm one of those guys, like you put a meal in front, and it's really strange because normally I think you find this with people who had like older siblings, and or lots of siblings, and it's a case of like, get to the food, get it down you, or the person that finishes first is going to finish your plate. I never had any of that. I'm an only child, so I don't understand where I've got this need. No, actually, yeah. Now that I think about it. It was never like a thing I had to like. It was when I was a teenager learning guitar. That's when it was, because I'd be upstairs playing my guitar. Oh, I just want to learn this. I want to learn this song and play this and that. Steven, time for your dinner. I'd run downstairs, shove it in my face, and then run back upstairs back on the guitar.
It's like a time thing or something. Right?
I think from there, I appreciate food. I love food. My mom used to take me like from a very early age. I got used to nice cuisine, good cuisine, foreign cuisine, not necessarily like haute cuisine, but just, not sausages and mash every night. Like
tasty.
Good food. And but I still just wolf it down no matter what it is on my plate. It's just gone. And this course that I'm doing, there was a bit of a running joke about one of the lads. He's like 6 foot tall, 6'5" or something, 6'7", tall guy, like nearly fucking towers above me. I'm only 5'9". But I reckon I could eat him under the table. And Bev, the boss of the course, like the tutor of the course, she does not believe me. She's like, no, he can eat like 2 full dinners and then still have room for more. I'm like, I just don't complain about being hungry. I can eat and still be hungry afterwards, but I don't want to come across like an utter twat. So
Right.
I'll keep that shit to myself. But you put 2 plates of mince and dumplings in front of us, it's gonna be gone. Like there's no two ways about it. And I could go back more. Like the meal we had, I said bangers and mash because we had sausage and mash tonight. I finished mine, looked over at Cameron, and he still had like a pile of mash, 1 sausage left. He's like, "Oh, I'm full." I'm like,
"Oh my god, yeah."
I'd already started on the crisps.
That makes me think too, because I've also heard the thing about how like it takes 20 minutes for your like whatever your mind, like because your gut talks to your brain or whatever, so it takes like 20 minutes before that connection happens. And I've noticed that's another reason why I kind of try to eat slow. I like try to chew, and then I also want to just allow it to like do its thing and not force it too hard. And so I will find that if I take my time, I end up becoming full, which trust me, I've had many times in my life where it's just like get the food inside of you. It's so good, right? But so anyways, as of late, I've been seeing like I get fuller quicker, and I mean, I don't really know the other benefits because it's not like I can see inside my body, but I after reading it, I like believe it. So yeah. It's just like you're supposed to chew like until it's fully just mush in your mouth, essentially. Like your stomach shouldn't have to do all the work, right? So that's what they're kind of saying, and it makes total sense.
But then, if you think about it, if your stomach's got more work to do and it isn't able to break down all of the food because you haven't chewed it very well, then you're not going to be able to store that in adipose tissue, and it's just going to continue on down your digestive tract. So for all you might not be able to pull all of the nutrients out of it, you're not going to be able to pull all of the bad shit out of it either. So I suppose somehow by eating more food more quickly, you get less nutrients than if you eat less food slowly.
Yeah, that's what I was saying too, right? Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why I think I'm still relatively skinny, because I eat like a fat lad, but I just wolf it down, like a flip top bin, you know, stand on my foot, paw gone.
Dude, that's like makes me think of like my like 3 like best friends I know that just like mouth food. They're like tiny. They're not tiny, but they're like super lean, thin dudes, and they just like it makes no sense to me. I'm just like, how? But metabolism, like Jesus, body type, metabolism, fucking, also, you know, the way, like, all that shit.
Early years goes a massive way to
totally
to inferencing. No, that's not the right word. To impacting how your metabolism works at later life. So if you eat really well in your very, very young formative years, and by the time you've got to an adult body size, have managed to drop all the puppy fat and be relatively lean, it's going to be easier to maintain that. Even if you gain like a stone or I'm crap at the weight conversions. Every time I hear, like, we'll watch UFC and it's like, this guy's 300 pounds and he's got to drop down to 270 pounds. And I'm like,
you're like, pounds? Wait, that's my money.
Yeah. 300 quid?
That's hilarious. Oh, British joke. Yes.
I actually haven't got many British jokes. There's a saying in England that I hadn't heard of until a few years ago as well. So we're Newcastle, we're in the very north east of the country, and we used to supply coal to fucking everywhere. We've got some of the biggest mines and collieries in the country up here, and so when in the 70s Maggie Thatcher closed the coal mines, that put a lot of Geordie lads out of work. A lot of Geordie lads, and that was one of the things that really started sense of dissent for the government and London, and that there's always been like a detached thing. We're miles away from the center of everything. We're all the way up here. Just keep your shit down there, and we'll not bother you because you've fucked us up too many times. But yeah, so because we used to supply coal everywhere, there used to be a saying, "Oh, that's like taking coal to Newcastle." Nobody says that around here because we're in Newcastle. So
right.
It's only when you get like a couple of hours down the country that it becomes relevant, because you would get your coal from Newcastle. So what's the point in taking a sack of coal back up to Newcastle? You know,
Right.
I'd never heard it. I think I was on the south coast or something. I was gigging somewhere else, and somebody went, "Oh, it's like taking coal to Newcastle." What? I've never heard that before. That's amazing.
No way.
But it's a really popular saying around the rest of the country, and I'd never heard it before. I got to like 30 without having heard that saying.
Wow, that's fucking crazy. Shit. That's like a long time. 30 years. Shit. How old are you now, anyways?
32.
32, right. Yeah. And when's your birthday?
Next week.
Oh, no shit. December 8th. 5th?
Yeah.
Cool. Next Thursday? Yes. Next Thursday.
Yeah, it is.
A week this Thursday.
Yeah.
Wow, I almost know what day it is. That's like insane.
That's also when my single comes out as well.
On your birthday?
Yeah.
Dude, what's sick? Like from an album or just a single right now?
Just a single for now.
Cool.
It's the first song that came out pretty much complete that was definitely good enough, unquestionably. There was a couple of lines that I've had to change. And again, like the first fucking take thing, I would have been happy that when I wrote the song, I played it on the guitar and did a video on my phone. And I remember playing it and I felt it perfectly, and it was dead emotional, and like there was a tear in my eye, and it was beautiful. And I listened back, and the fucking microphone, if I've got the front facing camera on my phone, it fucks with the microphone.
Dude.
So it was like, it was kind of like that, and every time it's just a little bit as if.
Oh man, that makes me want to cry. That's terrible.
So then I eventually decided to take it into Logic and sat down and started recording it. And I couldn't get the same vocal take. And I bumped it up a key because I wanted to try and get it to sound even more raw when I was at the very top end of it. And there was just something about that key where the bits that I was trying to slide around on in the middle of the range of the song, it was falling flat there, and then that was going sharp. And so I re-recorded the whole song. Fuck it, start again. A whole tone down, and I didn't even need to use auto-tune on the vocals. Or I elected not to for the sake of it being raw and right. And I basically just used one take. It wasn't the first take. It was like 4 days of a couple of takes this day. No, it's still not right. I'll try again tomorrow. A couple of takes today. I'll sit with that for a day or two, and then eventually hit on like day 3 or 4. I was all right. I was in sort of the voice that I needed to be in to put it across properly. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to send you it now.
Sick. That's awesome.
There's a little thank you for doing this.
Fuck yeah.
Now, where is it?
That's awesome. Are you doing any like type of like promotion for it or anything?
I'm gonna stick it out on my Facebook. I'm gonna put it on the Instagram, and I'm gonna start telling people about it.
Cool.
I mean, I've already had quite a bit of like, I put like this is gonna happen, because I've set it for like it's like pre-scheduled to go up. So I did it a week ago.
I like how I'm sorry, I'm reading. It says Uptune drunk.
Am I still screen sharing?
Oh yeah. I've been screen sharing this whole time, yo.
Oh Jesus.
I've been looking at a picture of you that's this big.
Hang on, that's not what I meant to do at all. So I'm going to take. I didn't realize it was on. And now it's really...
Now it is off.
It's conversation. More options. Stop sharing. Something much bigger.
Oh my god, that's great. That is hilarious. I thought that's how it was supposed to be this whole time. That's funny.
Where am I? Here.
Yeah, I'm 2:30 for you, eh?
Yeah, man. No. 3:30.
3:30. Shit, son. Shit, son. That is crazy.
That is sending, right.
Yeah.
Oh my god, what's going on here? I've lost Skype altogether. Skype.
I can still see you.
Yeah, it's just I've somehow managed to find myself in the menus rather than in the...
There's a trombone in there.
Yeah, there is. Not that I can play.
Right there. I got one finger that doesn't point the right way, so I sometimes realize I'm using my wrong finger, so I gotta use my pointer finger. Beep.
You'd probably be able to see the drum kit a little bit better now.
Oh.
As well.
That's awesome. Here, let me show you this drum kit.
Ah.
I've been practicing.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Get in.
I love my drums.
Are you doing any rudiments?
I just have 5 beats that I like to go to, and I'm just trying to add some other part-time stuff so I can try to not just do the same thing all the time. I should probably watch a video or have someone tell me some shit, but I'm just trying to fuck around, you know.
There's a really basic sort of intuitive exercise that you can do either on the kit, which is good because it's gonna improve all of the techniques, or there's a certain train of thought that says if you can play it on your knees with your hands, then you can do it on a drum kit anyway, because if it's just single strokes or even double strokes, then you can generally tend to do most of everything with your wrists. It's only when it comes into the really fine, tricky stuff that you start using fingers.
Right.
So basically, you just start off with single hits either hand. So again, you can do this on your knees or on a drum kit or on it.
Oh yeah. I just played hand drums and shit, but yeah. So it's the foot. It's the foot.
You practice right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left.
It came through.
And then you want to step that up to 2 on each hand. Naturally, you're going to go to 3 next.
Yeah. Nice.
Then you move on to 4s, 5s, 6s, 7s, 8s.
Show me 4s. Ah, that's so cool.
So when you get that on a kit, so basically the idea is you would do a set amount of 1s, the same amount of 2s, the same amount of 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, 7s, 8s. And then when you go back down, because you've been going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When you then go back down to doubles, your doubles should be a load tighter, because normally you'd be used to going many times after the second hit, but you've only got to do 2.
Mm-hmm. Should be a little bit, yeah, absolutely.
And then so that's a good thing to practice. Just singles, doubles, triples, move all the way up and then all the way back down.
Yeah.
Next thing is you want to get into a group of 3 feel. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Maybe it's not that fast. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and you're just going foot, right, left, foot, right, left, foot, right.
Okay, yeah, cool.
But make it both feet at exactly the same time. So it's feet, right, left, feet, right, left. And you'll notice that there's an ever so slight flam between your feet as they land. So the idea is to try and get them as perfect as possible.
Yeah.
And once you've got that, you can start playing that around the kit. But that's that's where a lot of those big rock fills come from. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3,
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Oh man, dude, that's like so important because right now I'm like that's bridges my gap.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And there's so many little things like that.
Yeah.
When you're drumming, are you just feeling it, or are you putting any sort of conscious thought to like how you're dividing up the musical cake? Like, are you consciously aware that if you're going gat, you're playing 8 beats with the right hand, or if you just go, that's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
I mean, I can do all that, but I'm not thinking about whether I'm following the music to what it needs or just for the purpose of changing things up. But I'm not like paying attention to why or what I'm doing. It's all just more intuitive. Yeah.
I was going to say you probably already know this. I'm teaching me granny how to suck eggs, as my dad would have said. The most important beat is always the 1, and that's generally where the kick drum falls. And you want to make sure that you're sort of above the beat as it's about to fall, rather than trying to stamp the beat out. You want to be like 1, not 1. Ooh. You want to rise up above it. And again, when you're playing these, if you go 1, 2, it should be like 1, 2. You should be like there should be an element of this stick returns to a point and then comes back, and this stick's already returned to that point, so that you're working in symmetry, and try and keep above the beat as it's about to land, instead of making it like a reaction hit.
So I'm guessing the purpose of that is for what's coming next, right? It's to keep you physically like open to expanding, like
that. And there's a certain there's a thing that happens with the stick. If you grab a stick too tight and play into the head, then when that stick lands in the head, it's instantly cutting off the resonance of the rest of the drum.
Right.
Whereas if you allow the stick to bounce off, then as soon as the stick's made the attack and it's come off the drum, the head's now allowed to resonate because you're not holding it down with the stick.
Yeah, totally.
The same thing applies with the kick drum. So if you're playing with your foot on the pedal and you play into the kick drum, it's going to go boom. Whereas if you play off the kick drum, you're going to get a boom. Much bigger boom. So if you're playing like the kick pedals here and you're above it to land on it, that's going to cause that to bounce back. Whereas if you stay solid on the pedal and play into the head with it already on the head, you just kind of constantly play into the head instead of having that full motion of the beat.
So also, in addition to that, like what that makes me think of, because like you're talking about resonance and like that's super important for the sound and everything. And then in my head, I thought about like a flow sport. Like if you're using like a flow sport and you're like spinning poi, you're kind of allowing it to like, you're not being so like, I'm spinning this like hard. You just, you kind of, you guide it. So like when you said that, it makes me think about you're just guiding the sticks. You're like,
you are literally that. You are guiding the balance and the weight of the stick to land in the right place, as if there's a bouncy ball on the tip of the stick. That's how you should imagine it, is that you're bouncing a pair of bouncy balls around a drum kit.
It's a fucking flow sport. That's
It
so
is.
cool.
Yeah.
That's
And the second that you go, what's that bit? Oh, it all goes to shit.
yeah.
Because you're kicking yourself out of flow state.
Yeah, man, that's so fucking cool. Oh, drums I feel like are the most, what's the word? Like
Tribal. Like,
yes, and also like the payoff or something, like to do it well, like payoff isn't the right word, but the what I feel like I get out of doing it right is like huge compared to like doing a good guitar thing. Like you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
I'm just like, oh, like it feels so much bigger. Yeah, I don't know. I love it.
Do you know who Andy Kaufman is?
Mm-hmm. Like the
Yeah.
comedian
Yeah.
slash performer
Yeah.
slash performance artist. Yeah.
Have you seen the bongo sketch?
No.
That's the next thing going in the chat.
Sick. Send it. That's awesome. I don't know how you want to much longer you want to chat for, but I should probably get going here soon. But skis.
No, I'm gonna send that. Well, I'll tell you what I'll do is,
Oh, that's fucking awesome how that sends. It just like takes over the screen. That's cool.
does it? Oh, when it lands on your end.
It's just the screen goes blue and it's like Andy Kaufman sketch.
Yeah.
Just your chat, whatever you put. It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is getting on a bit. 25 to 4 here.
Yeah. Looks like you're getting tired, or either that or really stoned.
Oh, I wish I was stoned. Jesus, no, I'm just. It's getting on in hours. I've been up since 8 this morning. So.
Jesus, too much tea. I'm just kidding.
The universe featuring Ray. It has been an absolute pleasure to do this with you. What have I had? We've had an hour and 41 minutes. I don't know how long that's going to take to get sorted out and get up on the internet, but you can find, this is for everybody listening as well, you can find all of my podcasts on Patreon. You go to Patreon / Steve Joe Allen, all one word, and all of the podcasts are on there. If you want to subscribe and do the Patreon thing and put a little bit of dosh my way, that would be massively appreciated. However, I went back on a previous decision that I'd made, and I've decided to make them all available to the public for free anyway. And just if somebody wants to help us out and subscribe and pay a bit, then that's all good. But I think it's a really cool thing that we're doing the video thing for the first time. And it actually, if this works as well as I hope it will, then that's definitely opened the door for some more of these with other people. And we could we could do one every other month if you wanted to. Just have a catch up and put it on.
That'd be cool. Yeah, that's cool. It's nice to chat. I haven't chatted with you since fucking earlier this year, but like 8 months or something. But still, it's cool.
Well, no, it was May that we were out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. Okay, so like only 6.
Yeah, 6 months.
Shit. Okay, but yeah, cool.
Yeah, it feels like longer. Although when we went out there this year in Israel, the year beforehand we'd been out there in July, August. So it was only like August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, and we were back there in the middle of April. So it felt like we'd only been gone for 6 weeks or something. It was crazy.
Wow, that's so cool. You get to go do that. That's so badass.
Might be out there twice this year coming up.
Shit, 3 Monkeys.
Yeah.
Wow, sick.
So it's always the 3 Monkeys that we play.
Yeah, that's.
But it's certainly an experience out there, isn't it?
Oh yeah, 100%. It's fucking gorgeous. It's cool.
It's beautiful. It's far too hot when it wants to be, and it's so shrouded in like this mad combination of like faith, anger, fear, like the whole 9 yards. You know, it's just we've spent a bit of time in Jerusalem now. Like we've been up there for a couple of days.
And like beauty and like awesomeness and like good stuff.
Oh yeah. All of that.
All of that.
We don't like my my view on Israel, or view of Israel, what I get to see of it is 2 airports in the hotel, and then whatever's in walking distance of the hotel, and
Right.
then we get to see a little bit of Jerusalem on the last day.
Yeah, that's cool. Oh yeah, I remember you guys were on there. That's cool. Yeah, it's
But
really nice.
Jerusalem's such an eye opener, man.
Mm-hmm.
It just is such a melding pot of tension and beauty and faith and
Yeah, yeah,
lack
yeah.
of faith, and history that's actually quite unexplained if you look under the ground a bit, and like it's all a bit,
It's pretty wild.
it's all a bit wild, like, yeah, but it's a beautiful place to go and work, and we're always treated sort of as well as you can be in the circumstances.
Oh yeah, and you're in like you guys play in like such a hip place. You guys play in like a like party tourist area of like beautiful beach.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
it's
people go there to have fun in the area you guys are at,
yeah, it's a special place, especially if you catch it at the right time of year as well.
which is
Unfortunately,
Elat. Yeah.
yeah, this year we were there for like Passover and Memorial Day and then Soldiers Day, so we had a lot of kind of downtime. We had this was the fewest amount of gigs I've ever done when I was out there. We
Yeah.
we had 2 or 3 nights off.
Yeah.
It's not a big thing, but it's different having a night off when you're over there. You're used to just working solidly all the way through and going home.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
But when it's jumping out there, it is jumping like that.
I know. I wish I got to go there at that time because I was there when you were there, and it was like not. It wasn't like everyone was doing their thing.
So I met you and you left the next day.
Yeah.
Like,
We
fuck's
got
sake.
to hang out. We got to hang out a little bit the next day.
Yeah, like 45 minutes. No, it was a couple of hours on the beach, wasn't it? And
Yeah, got to share music and shit. That was cool.
yeah, then
Yeah.
a nice walk up the hill.
Yeah.
So I love that walk. Like, I actually genuinely love walking around Elat. I know it's red hot. It's probably a little bit unhealthy, but actually just getting a 2 liter bottle of water and just walking up the hill.
Yeah. Some sunscreen, I'm sure, for you is probably pretty important, eh?
No, I've always tended to have quite a good complexion when it comes to suntan.
Really nice.
I don't throw myself out there in the first place anyway. Like the first week or so, I just ease myself in, get a little bit of a tan, 15 minutes. It's like anything. There's an effective minimum dose of sun tanning, and if you exceed that, you're just burning yourself. So what's the point in still being out in it? You know,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, you got to be smart for sure.
yeah, totally. You can't take the sun for granted out there. The first time we went out there, we spent a bit of time on the Red Sea. One day, third week, everybody came back burnt. The other guitarist had like 3rd-degree burns on his arm from the sun.
Was that what's his name? Shorty?
Sharky. No. Sharky.
Yes. Thanks. I thought you said Shorty, like duh. Anyways, but well, and isn't he like Irish? So
Yeah,
like he's like
he and Dee are both very ginger in complexion.
Oh yeah, for
Both
sure.
covered in freckles. Now, I'm quite lucky on that front because my dad was ginger in complexion as well. So when we go abroad, he'd have freckles on his arm, and after a week, they'd all start joining up, and then he'd just become freckle, because that's what freckles are,
Right.
like bunching of melanin in the skin. So like it just appears in spots. There's no even sort of peel of it, but
I've
when
seen
you get
people
enough of it, it joins up, and he brown.
yeah,
Hilarious.
totally.
Whoa, 1 hour 48 minutes. Right, I nearly called an end to this flipping 5 minutes ago, but we'll do it now.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Steve Allen podcast. Probably number 10. I think I'm gonna have to do a bit more research into this and probably stick an introduction on and stuff. But Ray, thank you very, very much. I'm gonna stop the recording right there. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.